She kicked me out after my son died, thinking the $55 million was hers now. But she had no idea. It was still mine. People called me Mr. Hale at work and Grandpa at the lake. I wore both names like a tool belt. For 50 years I laid down miles of road and raised spans that carry strangers to places I will never see. I started as a survey rodman who ate lunch sitting on culverts and learned to read dirt the way some men read faces. When I finally had men of my own to direct, I made them a promise that sounded simple. If we built something, it would outlast storms. Clearstone grew in the old-fashioned way, one bid at a time, paid on the last one before bidding on the next. My wife Maria was the first bookkeeper and the only person who could pull me off a job site by touching 2 fingers to my elbow. When she died of breast cancer 20 years ago, I wrote the first draft of the plan that would run my life until the end. The plan did not look romantic. It looked like binder tabs, buy-sell agreements, trustee designations, land trust deeds, a voting trust that would hold the company if anything happened to the next generation. I told myself it was prudence. In truth, it was fear channeled into lines and signatures so fear could not run the show. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My son, Matthew, was not born with a wrench in his hand, though he learned to swing one. He had my height and his mother's steady grace. He could step on a site and have a laborer with 20 years of calluses tell him the truth inside 5 minutes. He earned that. He pushed a broom, ran a paver, walked rebar in winter wind until the cold went through his boots, and came in early anyway. At night he studied contracts and design manuals and the soft parts of business that my generation thought were fluff until we learned they were the levers that moved steel. When he was 38, I slid the chair across and named him the new chief executive officer. That day we shook hands in the conference room with the wall of project photos, and I saw myself reflected in his cufflinks. We signed the buy-sell that afternoon with a witness and a notary who had seen everything and would remember none of it. The policy that would fund it, key person insurance on his life, a number that would make outsiders blink, was not a gift. It was a firewall. If anything ever happened to Matthew, the company would buy back his shares and stay intact. We did the same on me. It was not morbid. It was the way you bolt rebar on a curve you know will take a beating. When Matthew brought Vanessa to dinner, I tried to see what he saw. She was polished, quick with a story, and never asked a question she did not already have an answer for. She laughed with her hand on his sleeve, and he lit up like a new job coming in on budget. I watched the way she looked past the old photographs on our mantel and fixed instead on the signed renderings of bridges. Hunger, I have learned, can look like admiration if you squint. We had the conversation fathers and sons have in private, the one that starts with, "Are you sure?" and ends with, "I will support you." We brought in Caroline, my attorney, to draw a prenuptial agreement that was not a trap but a boundary. Vanessa signed with a smile that said she expected to redraw the map later. People always believe they can move fence posts once the fence is theirs. When June was born, Vanessa became softer in ways that surprised me. For a while, love smoothed the hard ridges. Matthew learned one-handed diaper changes and late-night feedings and still made the 8 o'clock meeting with the project managers. He started carrying around a notebook full of drawings in crayon beside the ones in ink. On Saturdays, he would come by the lake, and I would put June on my lap and show her how my thumb could disappear behind my fist and then reappear when she laughed. Vanessa would sit on the dock in sunglasses that cost more than some of my first rentals and scroll through her phone, flicking the world away with one finger. A company has seasons. The year before everything broke, we won the county's river crossing, a job that would keep 3 crews fed for 18 months and give us a photograph worth framing. Matthew pushed for a new asphalt plant to cure our own mix. I could see the math both ways. New debt for a new skin in a market that was tightening, or keep the old plant humming and accept the slower cure. We went back and forth the way men who respect each other can. He called me stubborn. I told him to sleep on it. He said he would. On the day he died, He left home with a thermos and a kiss for June's forehead. He walked through the doors at Clearstone and set his coffee down next to an open blueprint. An aneurysm does not explain itself. It arrives like a lightning strike on a clear day, a single shafted bolt that leaves a black circle burned into the ground and silence around it. By the time my phone rang, the ambulance was already en route. By the time I reached the hospital, eyes I had watched on sonogram screens, and on first-grade stages, and across boardroom tables, were closed. I have been in rooms where men cried for my mistakes, and I have apologized. I have never been in a room as quiet as the one where I signed the paperwork with a pen that felt far too heavy for my hand. The nurse put her palm flat on the table, waiting for me to give the pen back, and I could not unclench my fingers. Grief does not descend like a wave, not at first. It hums. It sets up shop behind your ribs and runs a motor that rattles everything you set down. It makes sound feel far away and color look scraped down to primer. I drove home by the long lake road because I could not make myself turn toward the big house yet. The maples were throwing back the sun with that late-season arrogance that always makes me laugh. I did not laugh. I parked in front of the house Maria chose and Vanessa remodeled and sat with my hands on the wheel until the knuckles went white. I thought of Maria's quiet bravery and Matthew's laugh when June splashed him and the promise I made at a conference table with a notary staring at a corded plant. The plan was sitting in binders on a shelf 3 feet from where I had taught my son to balance a checkbook and a level. The plan had always been for the company. It had never been designed for widow's locks or white envelopes waved like flags. Even so, the plan did not care why it was needed. Plans are like that. They sit and wait until you remember them. I did not notice the new locks until the key turned to nowhere. I saw my suitcase on the porch and June's painting still taped to the hall mirror on the other side of the glass. The lilies from the funeral were going brown at the edges, perfuming sorrow with a sweetness that bordered on insult. Vanessa stood in the foyer with an envelope that would later prove to be a cashier's check for $55 million, a precise and misdirected number born of a policy whose owner was not her, and whose beneficiary was not her account. She tossed her hair once, the way a show horse tests its bridle. "I am the widow," she said, as if titles were deeds. "Matthew wanted me to have peace. Your presence agitates me. I am a builder. I do not fight at doorways." I stepped off the porch and set my bag in the truck bed and called Caroline with the same tone I use when telling a crane operator to take the load as high as he dares, and then higher. My voice did not shake. The hum did not leave. But under it the old steel of a plan found its bolts. June watched from the stairs, hugging the stuffed fox by its thin neck. Its seam at the shoulder had come loose, and I could see the white fluff her fingers had pulled out in anxious little knots. She was 9. But in that moment she looked 5, sock half off her heel, hair lopsided where a barrette had slid. The kitchen light behind Vanessa washed the hall in a hard yellow that made everything feel auditioned and false. "Go finish your cereal," Vanessa said without turning her head. The tilt of her chin was a metronome. Tap, tap, command and dismissal. June did not move. Her gaze kept bouncing between my face and the door, as if trying to calculate how fast wood could become a wall. "Now, Juniper," Vanessa added, and there was a smile in the word now that had no warmth in it. June swallowed. She pressed the fox to her ribs and walked down the steps one at a time, placing her toes on the edge of each tread like a child learning a new staircase. In the kitchen I could see the bowl waiting for her. Cereal gone to mush, loops swelling into fat zeros, a spoon listing like a stranded oar. The house had never felt so scrubbed or so dirty. The envelope in Vanessa's hand caught the light when she shifted her weight. The white was surgical. I knew what sat inside before she said a word. Anyone who has run a company as long as I have knows the shape and heft of numbers. $55 million is surprisingly slim on paper if you're holding it wrong. She set her palm on the edge of the door the way a person rests a hand on a dormer before pushing off a roof. "This is the right choice," she said. "For everyone." In the kitchen, a chair leg scraped tile. "Goodbye, William." The door came forward. The seal met the jamb with a soft kiss, and then the deadbolt swung. I heard the new lock bite. It is a clean sound, the first time a lock shows you what it can do. Something old in me wanted to wedge my cane into the narrowing gap so the door would never know the shape of closed. Another thing, the thing that has always kept me from saying the line I would regret, laid a steady hand on my shoulder. "Do not fight at doorways," it said. "If you are meant to build, build." I stood on the porch and let my eyes take one last catalog of the hall. Maria had chosen that mirror. Matthew had broken it once with a tossed backpack and learned how to rehang glass with his father's swearing for music. June's painting, Grandpa and Me at the Lake, was still taped at the corner, the tape lifting like a loose scab. Through the kitchen arch I could just make out the back of June's head and the angle of her shoulder as she pretended to be smaller than the chair. I did not knock. I did not call through the wood. Words have a way of bouncing back and returning to your mouth, tasting like someone else's regret. I picked up my suitcase and my cane. The suitcase is old leather, initials stamped in gold by a man in a shop who called me sir and told me it would outlast my grandchildren. The right handle is darker from my sweat. The cane is cherry wood, cut from a limb that saved my knee 30 years ago when a piece of equipment rolled where it should not have. I do not use it often. Today I felt the ground in my hip and took it in my hand. My truck door groaned like an old friend clearing his throat. The seat held the familiar depression of my weight, the fabric polished smooth where I slide in, the faint smell of coffee that no amount of vacuuming will erase. An invoice I had meant to file was still tucked in the map pocket with a picture June had drawn of a bridge that went to the moon. The keys were cold metal against my palm. I set the suitcase behind the seat and the cane across the passenger footwell. Through the windshield, the house looked like a photograph of a place we once loved. Grief has a sound. People will tell you it is a wail, the keening of women in black on church steps, and sometimes it is. But for me, it is a low, continuous hum behind the ribs, a generator that rattles the plates in the cupboards and makes every other noise feel a step away. It had started the moment the phone rang at 9:17 in the morning. I remember the numbers because the nurse on the other end said them back to me when I could not say my own name. "Are you Mr. Hale?" she asked, voice clipped with training and kind despite it. "Yes," I said, and my voice came out flat, as if I had laid it on the table and pressed it with my palm. She used words like aneurysm and emergent, and I said I was on my way. And the hum started then, under the bones. Not loud, not yet, but steady. It rode with me to the hospital. It stood beside me under the fluorescent lights, while a young doctor with eyes too clear told me what the scans showed. It settled deeper when I walked into a room where kindness had to be rationed so there would be some left for the next family. On the way home, the hum moved from sound to weight. It pressed on my lungs when I passed the plant where we had argued the night before, replace the old machine that had been our stubborn companion for years, or make it sing a little longer and keep our powder dry. Sleep on it, I had said, because the numbers could be bent both ways and I wanted him to wake with his answer separate from mine. The last words I gave my son were not extravagant. They were the words I had leaned on my whole life when a decision felt like a trap. Give it the night and see what the morning brings. There is a space inside those words where a father can set a lifetime of what-ifs. If I had said buy it, would it have changed nothing? If I had said no, would he have argued and then stormed upstairs, and we would have both laughed about it now, in this kitchen, in this light, with the hum quiet as moth wings? The mind bargains. The body hums. If you are not careful, regret sharpens into a blade you turn on yourself. On the porch, the lilies dared me to breathe. The note taped under the bouquet, our deepest sympathies, was signed by a florist with a looping hand, the D curling into the I as if trying to make a bow of the word. I thought of Maria smoothing notes flat with the side of her palm, telling me you kept cards because you kept people, and of Matthew tucking the one from his first-grade teacher into a box he carried to college anyway. Inside the house, a spoon clinked against ceramic. I imagined June counting her bites because Vanessa made her eat to a number. I have noticed this in people who hate losing control. They turn food into math. I closed my eyes and saw June at the lake, chasing dragonflies with a net on a stick, wearing my old baseball cap, the brim too big. Do not fight at doorways. If you are meant to build, build. I placed my palm on the truck's steering wheel. The leather was warm where the sun had laid a hand through the glass. My thumb found the groove it always finds on the horn cap, the little valley worn there by years of habit. My heart thudded once against the hum like a hammer testing a nail. I looked up at the second-story window that faces the lake. That is where Matthew used to set his mug on the sill and pretend he could see the crews from there. He would lean and say, "They are fine without me." 3 minutes later, he would be in his truck anyway, because men like us do not delegate our worry. In the mirror, I caught a glimpse of June's fox pressed up against the pane above the stairs, 2 glass eyes and 1 smudge of a nose watching me go. I lifted my hand without meaning to. The fox disappeared as a small body ducked back under the railing. Vanessa's silhouette ghosted through the frosted window in the door. For a heartbeat, I saw a superimposed image of Maria in that same spot, head bent, hair in a clip, wiping a counter and humming nothing in particular. The brain does that, flips through transparency sheets looking for a better picture to lay over the bad one. When I turned the key, the engine caught on the second try. The old truck shook like a swimmer breaking the surface. I waited for the idle to settle because impatience ruins more engines than mileage. The habit soothed me. Habits are the handrails you hold when stairs go dark. I backed down the drive slow enough to count the pavers Maria had insisted we lay herself, 2 on either side of the mailbox because she liked the way pairs looked like company. At the street I paused, foot on the brake, palm flat on the wheel, and let the hum find its level. This was happening. The door had closed. The bolt had thrown. The lock had shown its teeth. If I spoke now, it would be to an ear that did not want to hear. Better to call the one person who would not mistake movement for progress. I pulled forward, turned right toward the lake road, and dialed Caroline. The phone rang twice. She answered with my name and the kind of contained steel you reserve for bridges in high wind. "Begin," I said, and in the saying of it, I felt the hum shift, not stop, never that, but withdraw enough for breath to fill the space it had taken. The plan was a handrail, too. We had installed it years ago, in calmer weather, for exactly this descent. What I meant was simple. We would build, not break. We would make the next days smooth, not loud. June was watching. I wanted her to see what our family does when a door shuts. We steady our hands and do the work. I set 3 rules for myself. The first rule: do not hurt to prove a point. Use boundaries, not blows. The goal is a safe life for June, not a win for my pride. The second rule: treat money like a tool. It holds things up when used right. It wrecks things when swung like a bat. The third rule: be visible to the child. If June looks for me, at school, at the lake, at bedtime, she will find me. Stability first, everything else second. Then I wrote down the plan in plain steps, each with its reasoning. I will freeze what was taken and put it back where it belongs. Not to punish, to restore order. The company stays sturdy, people keep their work, and June's future stays paid for. That is the point. I will keep June close. A courtroom can wait. Breakfast cannot. Same time, same table, same good night. Children learn safety from repetition, not speeches. I will steady the company. Our people will watch my face. If I am calm and clear, they can grieve and still do good work. That keeps food on many tables, including hers. I will give Vanessa a way down. June deserves a mother she can visit without dread. I will offer dignity and help, not traps. If she refuses, that is her choice, but the door will have been there. I will put everything in writing. No threats, no flourish. Plain terms, so that one day when June reads them, she will see that her grandfather chose peace without giving away what mattered. I will show up every day. Calls returned, forms signed, oatmeal made, stones skipped. The message will be the same each time. You are safe, you are seen, you are loved. I will keep our anchors where she can find them. The lake, the cabin, the office, unchanged and open. When the world shakes, fixed points teach a child how to stand. Under all of it was one purpose: honor my son by protecting what he built and who he loved. That means no public battles for applause. That means no sharp words that poison a kitchen years from now. That means choosing the move that keeps June's future wide and clean, even if it makes me look small for a while. So I called the foreman, not for metrics, but to say, we will keep each other upright. I called the school to say, release her to me. I will be there every day. I wrote to Vanessa to lay out a decent path, support, boundaries, and quiet. I did not call to argue. Arguments feed heat. Plans feed results. I cooked oatmeal for 2, though I ate alone. It sounds minor. It is not. It is a promise to the empty chair and the little girl who will return to it. It says, this home is ready for you. And when the emails came back, herds, confirmations, dates, I took them as simple proof that the structure holds. We designed it in calm. We are using it in storm. That is what good structure is for. I am not chasing revenge. I am restoring order. I am not trying to win a scene. I am trying to hand my granddaughter a steady life and a last name that still means something when she says it aloud. If there is a guiding line, it is the one my son left me. Be the lighthouse, not the rescue boat. Boats tire out. Lights just keep burning. I will keep the light on. So I move. First, the school. This is Grandpa. I will pick her up. Every day I hand them the list of who can help if I cannot. Faces relax. A routine begins. Next, our people. 4 o'clock in the yard. I stand where everyone can see me. We are grieving and we are building. Keep each other upright. If you need me, come. Work continues, not because we are numb, but because standing still would drown us. Then June. I wait by the doors. I kneel. You are coming home with me. Her hand finds mine and does not let go. We drive by the lake. We count the skips. That night the porch light is already on. At the cabin I set the rhythm. Shoes by the door. Homework at the table. Oatmeal in the morning. A short note on the fridge. We are safe. We are kind. We tell the truth. We read it together. We read it again. For Vanessa, I keep it clean. 1 letter. Here is the path. You will have what you need. We will not decide by threat. We will speak gently where she can hear I sign it and put the pen away. When the messages flare, I answer the clock, not the heat. Drop off on time. Pick up on time. The storm can shout. The light does not. Quietly, I prepare. I keep every text. I write down every exchange, every pickup, every bedtime. Dates, times, words used, tone kept. I save school emails, teacher notes, the little drawings June makes when she is calm, and the ones she makes when she is not. I talk to her pediatrician. I set an appointment with a counselor who helps children talk. We stop for ice cream after and discuss nothing heavy. Small joy is a record too. I walk the plant at dawn and the office at dusk. I check in with foremen and bookkeepers by name. I make sure pay goes out clean and early. I do not bark. I do not rush. Steadiness is witnessed. If a day comes when a stranger must weigh our lives, I want pages that show who held the line. I choose my ground. All important conversations in writing. All exchanges in the same place, same time. No side door meetings. No whispers that hurt the child. If a voice rises, mine does not. If bait is thrown, I let it fall. The focus is one circle wide: June's safety, June's peace. I take a co-parenting class without being asked. I schedule a home safety check. I introduce myself to the school counselor and the crossing guard and the receptionist who sees everything. Not to build a case against a person, but to build a case for a life. Let anyone who looks later find the same thing in every direction: consistency. Each night I write one line to my son about what I protected that day. Some lines are small. She laughed at breakfast. She learned the bowling. She slept through the rain. Small lines stack into a wall. By week's end, the hum in my chest is still there. This is not peace. This is posture. June's backpack hangs on the same hook. Her fox has a chair. The trucks roll. The crew leaders know I see them. Vanessa knows the fence is real, and it will hold even if she leans hard. It is not a happy ending. It is the start of a long season. Hearings will come. Papers will come. So will more mornings, more lunches packed, more stones skipped. The light stays on. The storm is still out there. When it lands, I will be ready. Quiet, documented, steady. Standing where my son asked me to stand, so his daughter can grow straight in the wind. The first call came while I was packing June's lunch. Peanut butter, apple slices, a note that said, "You are brave without trying." "This is Mr. Dalton, counsel for Mrs. Hale," the voice said. Calm, polished, practiced at sounding like the end of the road. "Good morning," I said. "Please put anything important in writing." "I would like to resolve this quickly," he went on. "My client is deeply concerned about the disruption. She proposes that the child return to her home immediately while we sort out the details." "Not happening," I said. "June needs a steady week. School, bedtime, breakfast. We can talk about exchanges after that." He tried a different angle. "Mrs. Hale believes you're escalating. Surely there's no reason to restrict communication. She feels cut off." "Set times for calls," I said. "We will keep them. We will not argue where the child can hear silence on his end, then a practiced sigh. Are you refusing to cooperate, Mr. Hale?" "I am defining it," I said. "Cooperation means protecting the child's routine first. If you want to help, help with that. I must also ask about the funds." "No," I said, still polite. "That is company business. I will not discuss it with you." He sharpened his voice half a notch. "You understand we'll be seeking immediate relief." "I understand you will do your job," I said. "I will do mine." I repeated it once because repetition makes things real. "Put it in writing." I hung up and wrote 3 lines in my notebook. Spoke with her lawyer. Kept it narrow. Child first. At pickup, June came out with the fox under her arm and a worksheet poking out of her backpack. She looked around like the air might change shape. "I am here," I said, and knelt. "Same as yesterday. Same as tomorrow." She leaned in until her forehead rested on my shoulder. "Mom said you took me." "I heard," I said. "Adults can be scared and say sharp things. You did not do anything wrong. We are keeping your days smooth while the adults figure out their part." "Am I in trouble?" "No," I said. "You are in 3rd grade." She laughed once, a small sound, then looked up. "Will we talk to Mom tonight?" 7 o'clock, I said. "Same time every day." At home we set the timer for the call. Vanessa answered on the first ring. "Juniper, baby," she said, too bright. "Are you all right? Did Grandpa make you—" "We are not doing that," I said, even. "This is good night time." June spoke into the phone like a radio operator. "Hi, Mom." We counted 5 skips. Grandpa thinks it was 4. It was 5. Vanessa tried again. "Sweetie, do you want to come home?" "Mommy's house is—" "Good night time," I said. "You can ask her about her day." There was a long inhale, then Vanessa's voice tight. "How was your day, love?" "Good," June said. "Grandpa wrote a list on the fridge. It says we are safe and kind and tell the truth. Vanessa was quiet. The timer beeped. We will call again tomorrow, I said, and ended it before adults could take the space back. After homework, we went to the dock. The lake had a skin of wind. I showed her the bowline again, the rabbit in the hole, the tree in the loop. She tied it twice, then tied the fox to the chair and untied it to prove she could. Are you mad at Mom? She asked, not looking at me. I am careful, I said. Careful keeps people safe. Mad makes messes. Will we have to go to court? She said the last word like it was a hallway she had never walked. Maybe, I said. And if we do, we will tell the truth. We will bring our calendars and our good manners. We will show the life we are building. She considered this. Can I bring my fox? You can bring your fox anywhere, I said. When she slept, I opened the email from Dalton. Demands, warnings, a thin coat of concern brushed over it. I answered with one paragraph. Set calls at 7, exchanges at the school lot, written communication only, a counseling schedule for June, a standing offer for co-parenting classes. No heat, no flourishes. I copied Caroline, closed the laptop, and put my hand on the porch light switch to make sure it clicked solidly. The next morning, Mr. Dalton wanted a meeting. Neutral ground, he said. Civic Center, tomorrow at noon. Bring a court reporter, I said. I want a record. He did not like that. I did not mind. We sat at a plastic table under a clock that ran 5 minutes fast. He spoke in blocks. Instability, status quo, harm. I spoke in short beams. Routine. School. Peace. He pushed on money. I let it pass me. He pushed on custody. I returned to calendars. He tried to draw blood with the word controlling. I replied with predictable. He said, she feels erased. I said, then help her write new pages. He blinked. You are not reasonable. I am steady, I said. There is a difference. When he left, I sent him a follow-up. The same points, the same tone stamped with time and place. The paper trail was not for him. It was for a future room where strangers would hold our lives in their hands. Let them see one thing. A man who kept his lines straight. That evening, after dinner, June spread crayons on the table. Draw with me, she said. Pick 2 colors. I chose blue and gray, lake and steel. She chose yellow. For the light, she said, and drew the cabin with the porch lamp so huge it took over the page. Then she drew 3 stick figures holding a rope. What is the rope for? I asked. So we do not lose each other when it is dark, she said, like she was telling me where the spoons live. I wrote my line to Matthew before bed. Met with her lawyer. No fights. Gave him a map he cannot twist. June tied a good bowline and learned a better word for court. Room where we tell the truth. It is not settled. A date will come on a stamped page, and we will walk into that room with our notes and our quiet and the proof of the life we keep. Until then, the routine is the argument and the light is our brief. Caroline came to the cabin with a red folder and the face she wears when truth matters more than comfort. We sat at the kitchen table where June does spelling. No boardroom shine, just wood, steam from 2 mugs, and a pencil chewed halfway through. You asked what Matthew left, she said. Let us count it the way it deserves. Not just dollars, I said. Especially not just dollars, she answered, and opened the folder. First the work, she said. 55 million. She let the figure sit. That check she waved came from the key policy meant to keep Clearstone standing. It is not a prize. It is ballast. It keeps 480 paychecks going even if the wind turns. It keeps the bridges on schedule. It buys the quiet that crews need to focus when families are hurting. That 55 is for the company, not for a purse I saw Dawn trucks, thermoses, boots on rungs, and felt my shoulders drop. That was Matthew's kind of money, money that holds other families up. Second, the places, she said. The big house and the lake cabin. Together they appraise just over $4 million. 3 for the house, a little over 1 for the cabin. They live in the old land trust you and Maria set up. They are not chips on a table. They are addresses. They are porch lights. Third the time, she said, tapping the folder. For June, 14 million set aside to unfold over years, not all at once. Money for school if she wants it, for counselors if she needs them, for braces and band camp and the kind of emergencies that knock families sideways. There is an annual budget tucked inside that so a bad month does not become a bad year. It is designed to keep her life smooth while the grown-ups sort themselves out. And you, she added, looking at me, 6 million in a separate pot so you stay steady, not flashy, not thin, enough to keep the porch lit, the truck running, and your voice calm. She slid a small envelope across the table. Inside were 3 photocopies of letters in Matthew's slanted hand, addressed to June at 10, 15, and 18. Dates in ink, the numbers pressed a little harder, like he wanted them to last. That was the truest fortune. Words that arrive exactly when a child needs them. There is also a pledge, she said. 3 million to seed the scholarship in his name. It moves when the ground under us stops shaking. His way of saying the work should outlive his days. I wrote on the yellow pad, 55 for work, 4 for places, 14 for her, 6 for me, 3 for giving. Then I underlined his name because where we spend it matters more than what we call it. When June came home, I told it to her in our language. "What did Dad leave us?" she asked, legs swinging. 3 big things and 2 helpers, I said. First, he sent 55 million to keep the company strong so other families can eat. Second, he made sure our homes, about 4 million worth of floors and windows, are ours to walk and ours to sleep under. Third, he saved 14 million for you to grow on, slowly, the way good things grow. The helpers are 6 million so I can keep the light on and 3 million to help other kids build things one day. She thought about it, brow pinched. So we are rich? We are resourced, I said. Rich is loud. Resourced is quiet and long. And the letters? She eyed the envelope. Those are for later, I said. He marked some stairs for you. You open one on each landing. Can I open one now? Good things at the right time feel better, I said, and she accepted it with a small nod. The knock came the next morning. A man in a windbreaker held a thick envelope like it burned. Service for Mr. Hale. I signed. The papers were heavy with capital letters and short deadlines. Emergency. Immediate. Return the child. Hand her over now. The numbers were as blunt as the words. Hearing set within 48 hours. Penalties threatened. Demands stacked. June looked up from tracing her spelling words. Her eyes asked if the floor was about to move. This is paper, I told her, laying it flat. Paper talks loud. We answer with our lives. She nodded and went back to her letters. I called Caroline and stacked what we had already built on the table. Our pickup and bedtime log. The 7 o'clock call schedule kept every night. The school emails about attendance and reading group. The counseling appointment card. The note from her teacher. She is steady. She is kind. The list on the fridge that says we are safe, we are kind, we tell the truth. Caroline listened. We will be in front of a judge in 48 hours, she said. Wear the suit that smells like cedar. Bring your calm. Bring your records. Let their noise meet our regular. I hung up and wrote my line to Matthew early. We counted what you left. 55 to hold the work, 4 to anchor our feet, 14 for her, 6 to keep me steady, 3 to give forward. We opened the envelope and did not flinch. We are walking into the room with our notes and our quiet. At dinner, June asked, "Is this where we go to court?" "Yes," I said. "We go, we tell the truth, and we come home. The light will be on when we get back. "Can I turn it on tonight?" she asked. "You can," I said. "That is part of the job now." She clicked the switch. The bulb threw a bright coin onto the lake and reached into the trees. The storm was forming and the numbers on the page promised it would be loud. We were ready, documented, steady, funded for the long haul, walking toward the fight with our porch light already burning. Court felt like a factory that made decisions. Bright lights, hard benches, a clock that dared you to breathe too loud. I wore the cedar-scented suit. Caroline set our stack on the table like we had brought our own foundation. Calendars, school emails, the 7 o'clock call log, counselor notes, pictures of oatmeal and homework and the porch light. June turned on herself. Vanessa sat on the other side in a dress too sharp for the hour, chin up, sunglasses perched on her head as if the room were too dim to contain her. Mr. Dalton had his briefcase open and a new pen ready to underline old claims. The judge looked like a man who had seen storms and still planted tomatoes. "We are here on the emergency petition," he said. "I have read the filings." "Counsel, be brief. I care about the child. I care about facts." Dalton stood and started stacking words. Instability, withholding, alienation. Vanessa nodded at each one as if he were reading her wedding vows. Caroline rose and handed up one page. "We asked the court to look at routine, school attendance, counseling schedule, and a written plan for daily contact with mother. We also asked the court to confirm the company funds are not at issue. They belong to the business, not the widow." The judge scanned the page. "Mr. Hale, do you have anything to add?" "Yes," I said, standing. "I promised my son I would be the light, not the noise. June has breakfast at the same table every morning. We take the same route to school. We call her mother at 7 every night. She sleeps. She reads. She laughs." "That is our argument," Vanessa made a sound like a scoff, swallowed, and then spit back out. "He is performing," she said, and the word came out like a slap. The judge raised a hand. "Mrs. Hale, you will have your turn." He did not need to say more. Vanessa leaned back, arms crossed, mouth set to bite. Then came the first discovery Caroline had kept quiet until now. "Your Honor," she said, "we have a new exhibit." She clicked a remote. On the screen appeared an email chain between a boutique bank and a private client. Subject: Wire. Amount: $55 million. Destination: an account in the Caymans opened 3 days after Matthew's funeral. Applicant: Vanessa Hale. In the application, a box checked yes beside the question, "Are these insurance proceeds payable to you personally?" Dalton leaned forward, then back. Vanessa did not. She stared straight ahead, jaw moving, as if chewing the air might turn it into a better fact. The judge's voice was flat. "Mrs. Hale, did you attempt to wire corporate insurance proceeds offshore?" Vanessa smiled without teeth. "I am the widow," she said. "I was securing my future before he—" she tilted her head at me, "started freezing me out." "That money never belonged to you," the judge said. "It is not a widow's stipend. It is a business tool." Dalton shuffled. "Your Honor, this is character evidence." "It is judgment evidence," the judge said, and set the email aside like a brick he would remember to use later. He turned to me. "Mr. Hale, any other exhibits?" Caroline nodded once. "2. The second was a dashcam video from a month earlier, the minor crash we had heard about. We watched Vanessa stumble from the car and talk into the officer's microphone about getting what I am owed and making the old man pay. No one was hurt that night, but some things are broken by words and captured forever by microphones. Vanessa flared. "This is harassment," she said. "I was grieving." "You were drunk and threatening," the judge said. "Grief explains. It does not excuse." The third exhibit was quieter. A letter in Matthew's hand, notarized, dated 6 months before his death. It was a guardian nomination, simple, plain, exactly the kind of thing he would write on a lunch break, naming me as the person to steady June if he was ever gone. Not to cut anyone out, the letter read, but to keep the ground level while everyone finds their feet. Vanessa's mouth fell open. He never showed me that. It was filed with the trust, Carolyn said. It was not hidden. You did not look. Dalton tried to pivot. Mrs. Hale has always been the primary caregiver. Caroline slid another page forward. School pickup logs from the last year. Grandfather or father 80% of the time, she said. Mrs. Hale had the nanny do most of the rest. We also have texts. She read one. Tell her grandpa took you. Make your sad face. Judge will listen. Vanessa lunged toward the microphone. Those are out of context, she snapped. You are twisting. The judge's pen stopped moving. Mrs. Hale, he said softly, do not coach a child to lie and then accuse the page of being the problem. I kept my eyes on the table. When you are winning for the right reasons, victory tastes like clean water. You do not gulp. You drink steady. Dalton tried again with the word controlling. Mr. Hale has set rules without consulting my client. He is scheduling counselors and classes like a warden, I answered without raising my voice. Routines are not bars. They are handrails. Every counselor and class is there so June can feel normal while adults argue. If Mrs. Hale wants to join a co-parenting class, I will pay for it and save her a seat. Something in the judge eased at that. He glanced at the clerk, then at us. Ask your next question, counsel, he told Dalton. Dalton shifted to the house. She has been locked out of her home. Caroline slid a slim folder. The house is in a land trust, she said. Last week, Mrs. Hale tried to file a quitclaim deed transferring it to her name. The county recorder flagged it for fraud. We have the clerk's note. We are not using it to shame her, only to show why clear boundaries are needed. Vanessa laughed, a sound like glass under pressure. He is trying to erase me. He wants to play family with my daughter and parade around like some hero with his millions. The judge looked at her with an expression I have seen foremen use when a young laborer swings a hammer at a windshield. Mrs. Hale, he said, this is a child, not a prize. And those millions you mention, they are set aside to keep her life steady and your town employed. Stop treating them like confetti. Caroline had one more quiet stone to skip. A short affidavit from the nanny. It was not vengeful. It was sad. It listed nights Vanessa went out and forgot to text a good night. Mornings she slept through school run, and one afternoon she told June to tell the teacher she was sick so they could leave early for a salon appointment. The nanny ended with a line that hurt and helped at once. The grandfather is the one who shows up. Dalton saw the shape of the wall now. He tried a last move. My client wants reunification therapy before any visitation restrictions. Caroline nodded. We are already paying for therapy, she said. We will add reunification. We ask only that visits be supervised until the therapist recommends otherwise, given the coaching and the drinking. The judge folded his hands. I have heard enough. He spoke slowly, placing each word like a stone in a stream. Emergency petition denied. Primary physical custody to Mr. Hale, with joint legal to be revisited after 6 months of compliance. Mother's visitation supervised at the family center twice weekly to start, with a pathway to unsupervised upon counselor recommendation. Daily calls at 7 p.m. will continue. All exchanges at school or the family center. No disparagement by either party, and no coaching of any kind. Co-parenting classes for both. Alcohol monitoring for Mrs. Hale for 90 days. As to the insurance proceeds, they are confirmed as corporate assets. No further attempts to transfer or encumber company or trust property. Any breach will be addressed with sanctions. We will review progress in 90 days. Do you both understand? I do, I said. Vanessa stared straight ahead. He set me up, she muttered. No, the judge said. and his voice had the weight of gravel poured true. He set up a plan before any of this, and then followed it. That is the point. The gavel did not bang. It did not need to. The room exhaled. Dalton gathered his papers with the care of a man packing away a loss. Outside, in the hallway that smelled like dust and old books, Vanessa walked past me and hissed, "This is not over." I nodded. "Then do the work," I said. "Take the class. Keep the times. Do not ask her to lie. That is how you win the part that matters." She scoffed and stalked off with Dalton trotting to keep pace. Caroline touched my elbow. "You did well," she said. "I did steady," I said. We drove to the school. June was in the library building a bridge out of popsicle sticks. She looked up when I came in and ran to me with the fox trailing like a flag. "Did we do the court?" she asked. "We did," I said. "We told the truth." "We will keep telling it." "Can Mom still call at 7? "She can," I said. "And you will see her twice a week with someone there to help all of us do it right." She thought about that and nodded. "Okay," she said. "Can I bring my fox to show her I learned the bow line?" "You can bring your fox," I said, "and you can teach her the knot." That night I wrote to Matthew. We stood in the room and did not shout. The judge saw what you left, a plan, a name, a child with handrails. The 55 holds the work. The 4 anchor our feet. The 14 grows her future. The 6 keeps me steady. The 3 will build for others. She turned the porch light on herself when we got home. The legal fight was not loud anymore. It was a schedule. The toxic parts had been seen and named. The path was drawn. The crews would report at dawn. The scholarship paperwork moved forward. The letters with dates would wait for their landings. And tomorrow at 7, the phone would ring, and June would say goodnight with a steady voice in a steady house. We were not at the end, but every line was tied, every beam set. The storm had a route, and so did we. A year and a day after the first hearing, the judge made it permanent. Primary custody to me, joint legal preserved but tied to compliance. The 7 o'clock calls stayed. Exchanges at the center or the school, nowhere else. A simple order, brief, exact, and final. He looked over the rim of his glasses and said, "This child has a steady home. We will not disturb what works." That was the victory, not applause, not headlines. A line on a page that let a little girl keep living the same day in the best sense of the phrase. The rest a line behind it. The 55 did its job quietly. It stabilized Clearstone when grief might have bent steel. We finished the river crossing on schedule and under budget. The plaque at the end bears Matthew's name, not because he died, but because he did the work that made it stand. We modernized the plant he wanted, paid for the upgrade from earnings, not ego, so his argument with me ended the way it should have, with a better mix and a handshake in memory. The 4 in places held, as promised. The big house stayed inside the land trust. We leased it to a family whose laughter fits the rooms. The cabin remained our center of gravity. June knows every board by sound. She turns on the porch light at dusk without being asked. That is how a child owns a place. The 14 for her began to unfold the right way. Tuition funds seated, counseling paid, emergencies met without drama. It is quiet money, the kind that keeps a backpack zipped, a dentist calm, a summer camp within reach. The 6 for me did its job too. I never had to raise my voice just because a bill came due. Steadiness is cheaper than chaos. And the 3 we pledged to give forward became the first cohort of scholarship kids in Matthew's name. They are not prodigies in magazines. They are the kind of young people who push brooms and learn to read dirt and stay late to get the poor right. That is the legacy I want tied to our name. Vanessa fell, and I will not dress it up. The Cayman wire attempt brought fines and a forensic audit. Vendors who once laughed at our parties stopped taking her calls. The boutique bank closed her account. The county recorder tagged her quitclaim as fraud. She lost her license for a spell after the dashcam night and had to take a class taught by someone she would not have spoken to last year. It humbled her in ways anger never could. Supervised visits stayed for months, then shifted to a slow, conditional ladder. More time when she did the work, less when she slipped. She moved to a small condo across town, sold the handbags she once treated like investments, and took a job at a showroom that pays exactly what work is worth. If that sounds harsh, it is only consequence. I did not celebrate it. I carried the fence and kept it upright until she learned to lean without trying to knock it down. June stayed the compass. She opened the first letter from her father on her 10th birthday. She read, "Keep your eyes on the light," and taped it inside her closet door. She brought her fox to a visit and showed Vanessa the bowline. The counselor smiled and said, "Good." June joined a little bridge building club at school. Her popsicle truss held 30 pounds and she walked home grinning with both hands. At night she sometimes asked hard questions and I answered them without making villains or saints. She learned the word steady and made it hers. At Clearstone, a kid who started as a flagger now leads a crew. He taps a pour with his boot heel and smiles because the surface talks back the way it should. I told him once about the 55 and what it is for. He nodded and said, "So the work goes on." Exactly. The last time we stood before the judge, he flipped through a thin file. Progress reports, clean tests, uneventful notes, and said, "This is how families heal around a child. Rules that are kept and love that doesn't switch off." He lifted his pen, then set it down. "Check in by mail in 6 months. If the record stays like this, we will take you off the calendar." Afterward, Vanessa lingered by the door. She did not hiss. She did not pose. She said, "Thank you for not poisoning her against me." I said, "Thank you for doing the work you said you would do." We both understood that this was as close to a truce as we would ever need. At home, June and I made oatmeal too sweet and carried 2 bowls to the dock. The lake held the sky in both hands. She asked about the second letter, the one for 15. I told her it would wait on its marked stare. "Good things at the right time," she said, finishing the line for me. We walked back up with our spoons, and I wrote the last entry in the notebook I started on the day Vanessa shut me out. The plan held. The name held. The child held. We did not win by breaking anyone. We won by building and then standing still long enough for the building to speak for itself. That is the end of the story and the start of our days. The company rolls out at dawn. The scholarship letters go in the mail. The big house fills with someone else's laughter. The cabin waits for evening. At 7 o'clock, a phone rings and a little girl says goodnight from a place that does not shake. The porch light burns. It keeps burning.
My grandpa's words really happened. I believe him. If you want more true tales stories like this, hit subscribe.